Come on in, you guys. We're getting ready to start another Clubhouse room. And today I have a wonderful guest talking about biohacking. And so Dr. Shawn Wells, that's him right there. Go check him out. Will be on the show. Shawn is somebody I have interviewed before, really knows his stuff. He's got a new book we're going to talk about here today called The Energy Formula, but he's coming on Clubhouse. And if you're brand new, we have rebranded. Hello, Kimberly. We have rebranded from Jimmy Rants to now Jimmy on Clubhouse. So if you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it is an app. I will get out of the room so you can see what the app looks like. So the app is this little guy here. Looks like a little goofy Mad Magazine type of character with his hat on sideways. And anyway, that's what it looks like. So you can go download that app. You do need to be invited for now, and it's only for Apple devices. So this is my iPad here. I'm recording on an iPhone. So this is the new kid on the block. And as a longtime podcaster, this is right up my alley because you literally get to talk to people and in real time. So I'm using all my interview skills to talk to a whole bunch of people and then share. And you'll see on the screen people engaging with me. I want you to engage with me here on the Jimmy on Clubhouse Instagram page as well. So if there's anything that Shawn or I say that you want to comment on, I will read your comments on the air. This is a lot cooler format than Jimmy Rants was. I did enjoy Jimmy Rants, but it was time to level up, as I say in this podcast. So let's get this show on the road. It is 1:30. They're expecting me. So let me start the room. Hello, everyone. Come on in. We're going to get a few people into the room here. Hopefully Judith opens this one up for me. And Shawn is supposed to be here any moment now. And we're going to get going here in just a minute. Hello, JD. Thanks for being here. Looks like you're new to Clubhouse. Welcome. So we're going to start the show. See if we can get some more people in here. Keto for the Soul is supposed to blast this out to everyone. So hopefully that happened. What up, Jason Whitrock? We're getting ready to start an interview that I have set up with Shawn Wells. So Shawn and I are going to talk about how to biohack and level up your keto. There's so many things you can add to keto to make it better. And let me see if we are unlocked because I cannot tell. Yeah, we're unlocked, it looks like. So I don't see you on. I just got a text from... Hang on a second, Instagram. It's going to pause Instagram, so I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm still here. All right, Instagram, I'm back. So guys, welcome. Come on in. Make yourselves at home. This is Keto for the Soul Clubhouse Room. And we are simulcasting as well over on Instagram Live on the all-new Jimmy on Clubhouse page over there. I used to call it Jimmy Rants, but that show format kind of got old now, Shawn, that we have this new technology with Clubhouse. So it's kind of fun to talk to people in real time. All right, you guys. So, yeah, go ahead, Shawn.
I was just saying I'm pinging people into the room. And
yes, thank you for that. And anybody listening, if you want to ping others to come into the room, that is how we grow here. And definitely both Shawn and I will be dropping some mad bombs all about biohacking. And maybe this is a new term to you that you haven't heard before. And there's a whole lot of first-timer kind of keto people in this room, Shawn. And so they're just learning about keto. But I think they've heard enough that they can say, okay, now that I got the basics down, what else can I do? So that's what we're going to hit here today. Biohacking basics, how to level up your keto diet. Shawn is big time, you guys. Go check him out over on Instagram. He's at Shawn Wells. Makes it real easy to find you, Shawn. Good job. And he's a biochemist, dietitian, a formulator. He's got a brand new book out I want you to know about called The Energy Formula. It's hard to miss. It's completely orange. It is bright. You will not miss it if you see it. And it's a beautiful book, by the way, Shawn. Good job on that. And in there, he talks about a lot of the biohacks that can help you improve your energy, be more productive, gain more focus, live longer. Does that sound interesting to anybody? I would think it would. So, Shawn Wells, welcome, buddy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for for having me. Yeah, let's jump into it. I'm excited.
So let's just start with defining terms. I love it when I've got newbie people that they don't even know what this biohacking word is all about. You and I have been doing biohacking so long, it feels so second nature. But for brand new people, what is biohacking in a nutshell?
Hacking your biology, so shortcuts to elicit greater performance. A lot of people think hacking sounds like something negative.
Yes.
That hackers are out there are doing, acts that are, criminal in nature and stealing. But that actually, I've tried to turn this word around a little bit, and I've thought on it, and I've come up with, there's another mashup term called hacktivism.
Hacktivism. I like that.
Hacktivism.
Yes.
Where like people do hacking for social good. So like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Anonymous, these kind of groups, they were doing hacking, but for social good reasons.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of being a biohacktivist, where you're not just trying to elicit greater performance for yourself or at the expense of anyone else, but it's uplifting the world around you. When you're thriving, you're having a greater impact on the world around you. So
yeah,
just trying to change that a little bit.
Man, I love that hacktivism. And you're right. Biohacking has such a negative connotation. I remember I was trying to pitch a book to my publisher about biohacking, and they did the first thing. That's the first thing they did. They cringed. They were like, no, and I was like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, it felt like we were talking two different languages.
Yep, I went through that with my book, the same as well.
Yes. So a lot of people, they go on a ketogenic diet, Sean, and they feel really well. And he's a keto advocate, by the way, you guys. He loves the ketogenic diet, but along with all these other hacks that we're going to talk about. But ketogenic diet will take you only so far. Why do people stop at diet? Is it just that they don't know about a lot of the stuff that you and I talk about, or what?
I think that's just the mentality and it kind of goes with the biohacking thing, where like people want something quick and fast, and they want like a crash diet to work, and you will lose weight quickly on a ketogenic diet. But we're definitely seeing repeatedly, as so many diets come out, that lifestyle is the most important factor. Like, what is it you're going to maintain? And that's the best diet for you. No matter what it is, if it's vegan, if it's carnivore, if it's keto, if it's paleo, certainly avoiding a standard Western diet or standard American diet, that really is sad. You want something that is a lifestyle and maintainable for the long run. And for me, that's been the ketogenic diet. I've been doing it for about 20 years, been doing a cyclical and targeted ketogenic diet. So yeah, that's important for me, is that it's a lifestyle and not a diet.
Yeah.
And I've also been able to get rid of the word cheat. I don't think of that way either. They're just planned carbs, or they're, planned decadent meals, or even if they're unplanned, as long as I allow myself to enjoy them, then I move on from there. And maybe
Yes.
I do a little extra fasting or exercising, or a little stricter keto, like with almost zero carb for a day, I'll do something to kind of compensate, but I'll also enjoy the moment and not hate myself for it.
Absolutely. No need to stress the body unnecessarily. So you mentioned two terms in there that might be of interest to people that is a part of this biohacking. You said you cyclical keto and you targeted keto. Can you define those terms and why you do it?
Yeah, so cyclical is when you cycle on and off the ketogenic diet and add in some additional carbohydrate refeeding. I just there was a study where they did a 5 and 2, and it took people where they did 5 days on the ketogenic diet and 2 days off,
yes.
say the weekend.
The refeeding.
But it took them until Thursday to get back into ketosis.
That's right.
I don't do, those people weren't keto adapted necessarily, so it may not be exactly that, and how you execute could be different, but I just do 2 meals. So on a Saturday, I'll do like either a Friday night dinner with friends and then a Saturday lunch, or I'll do like Saturday lunch and Saturday, night if I'm going out. But I just plan where 2 meals kind of back to back are fun meals where I
Yeah.
have whatever I want.
And the
And then I
purpose?
just go back to my ketogenic diet. And then I'll do targeted. I don't do targeted with my workouts. I mean, I work out with weights for like an hour. I just don't need it. But when I play competitive sand volleyball, I do use some carbohydrates.
Sure.
Like especially if I'm playing for like 8 hours in a tournament or
Yes.
something. Like for the first 3 hours, I'll have some simple sugars. And
Right.
I'll have like honestly like a Coca-Cola or a Gatorade or gummy bears.
Yeah.
Or like something like. I don't mix fat with it. It's just pure sugar.
Yes.
But I've also retested myself that by the end of like say that 8 hours, I'm already in ketosis again. So.
Right. And so there's a lesson there that you're doing it for a very specific reason, for athletic performance, and you're topping off your glycogen stores. You're going to burn through those glycogen stores. And if you go into it very well keto adapted, add these extra carbs, although Coca-Cola, I guess it's fast acting is the reason you use it. You could definitely use carbohydrate and it'll burn through that really fast. I know a lot of endurance athletes have talked about Dr. Mark Cucuzella. Have you interviewed him? He's a medical doctor that runs.
No, I haven't. But
Yeah.
I use a high glycemic carbohydrate.
Yes, exactly. So and so you burn through that, and then your fat burning kicks in and gives you that sustainable energy. So it's all about your target here. Don't hear him talk about cyclical keto and think that it's necessarily, or targeted keto, and that's necessarily right for you unless you tinker and test and kind of figure that out. And that's really the very essence of biohacking, isn't it, Sean? Of just trying things to see what works.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually my first chapter in the book. It's called Experiment, and it goes into bio-individuality and exploring that, how we're all unique. We're all an N of one, meaning like a study with one participant.
Yep.
Because there is no study with 7.5 or 8 billion people. And even when you do studies, and I've funded several studies and worked on numerous studies with my ingredients or products I've formulated, you see like there's hyper responders, there's normal responders, and then there's non-responders.
Right.
And we average those and say, well, this is the statistical average, but that doesn't really apply. And that's with 18 to 24-year-old males that are in college. How this affects someone that's a 50-year-old female that's postmenopausal, that's under different stress and has different genetics, and we don't know. It's just there isn't like studies like that. So those things are just directional, and then you can try them and see how it works for you. And I like to try one thing at a time. That's the scientific method, and you can evaluate it, and then if it works, apply it, and then you can go on to the next intervention or variable.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes a confounding variable if you do multiple things at the same time, which is why I hate it when studies do that, Sean. They'll like look at and want to target looking at, say, the impact of red meat on someone, but then they confound it by adding in buns to that red meat, French fries, Coke, and I'm like, was it really the red meat or was it all those other things? How do you know?
Oh man, that's so true. And sometimes you wonder if there isn't the agenda behind that.
Right.
Those kind of studies are very frustrating when they damn meat or high fats. Or,
yes.
And there's like a lot of epidemiologic studies like that too. Like
that's right.
There's correlative data versus the causative, and I can think of one like with the NHANES epidemiologic stuff where they looked at salt, and they said that, well, salt was associated with mortality risk, and if you actually look at it and you tease out the ultra processed food that's high in sodium, and you just look at sodium levels that naturally occur in foods, in healthier foods, then higher salt levels were associated with longer life. So we weren't looking at these things correctly, and it's very similar with fat as well. Like when they were looking at trans fats, and we weren't delineating at the time. There's such a huge difference, and my simple rule that I get into in the book, it's never about like carnivore or paleo or vegan or anything in between. It's about ultra processed food. When that came along, we got unhealthy.
Yep.
If you get someone away from ultra processed food, they get healthy. And it's that simple.
Which is why all these diets have worked over the years. I mean, Atkins has had its heyday, paleo, primal, whole 30, keto, and now carnivore, and even plant-based diets. The reason all of these diets have worked so well is, what do? We all have a common denominator. We get rid of what you call it ultra-processed foods. I call it crappy garbage. So when you get rid of that stuff, it stands to reason that your health is going to get better.
Dead on. Yeah, exactly. And the worst part of it is the high glycemic aspect of it. And that's I'd say that, and then the high bliss point nature of
yes.
it. They're engineered foods that trigger like essentially a foodgasm in your brain when
yes.
you release dopamine and serotonin. It overrides satiety and makes you addicted. And if you walk into a convenience store, that's not just a store of convenience, it's a store of addiction. They're literally peddling porn, alcohol, tobacco, sugar, caffeine, like anything that's like of an addictive, impulsive nature is in that store. And if you look at where the sugar is, I mean, not only is the sugar all around you in the convenience store, but it's certainly up by the register. And everywhere you go, it's always up by the register because it's impulsive. And if you think it's just a matter of calories in, calories out, it's not. The war is on for your brain. And that stuff is addictive. It's literally been shown to be like cocaine. And like you've made that impulsive decision before. And it's almost shameful in your mind. Like sometimes like you'll buy it and you'll hide it, and you feel guilty about it. But it's like you need it. Because at times, like, especially when you don't get enough sleep, your neurons actually fire slower. That brain fog, that slowness that you feel, they're actually the synapses, like it's firing slower. So you're needing fuel, and you're actually in a state of acute insulin resistance when you don't get enough sleep. That's why if you chronically don't get enough sleep, you're much higher likelihood for type 2 diabetes and then even coronary heart disease, like especially for people that are apneic and things like that. So you need energy. And so your body's saying, oh, there's quick energy. We really want that. But obviously that's not an ideal path. Obviously it's better to get whole foods. It's better to be on a ketogenic diet, provide that alternate fuel source.
Right.
It's better to get good sleep and things like that.
Oh, I want to hit on sleep after I reset the room. Guys, this is Keto for the Soul. Go click on that green box at the top. You can join this wonderful group. Judith there to the right is the owner of this group. She was very kind to let me come in and bring in all my friends from the keto world, like Shawn Wells. We're really happy to have Shawn here today. He's a biochemist, dietitian, and formulator, the author of a brand new book called The Energy Formula. And we're talking about a lot of the biohacking basics that he outlines in his book. If you'd like to be a part of the show and you want to come on up to the stage, go ahead and raise your hand and start doing that. We'll come to you in about 15 more minutes. But Shawn, I want to get into some of these biohacking basics. And you mentioned sleep. This is something people have trouble with. Do you have some hacks to help people figure out their sleep?
Oh man, I go into that quite a bit.
Yes, you do.
In the section with routines, I definitely go through morning routines and then nighttime routines with something that's called sleep hygiene, and that's how well you prepare yourself, your body and mind, for sleep each night. And then I also discuss circadian rhythm, the sleep-wake cycle. But yes, it's really important that you consistently go to bed at the same time, that you avoid blue light in the evenings, that you don't eat too late into the night because that throws off your circadian rhythm and ultimately melatonin release. Dr. Sachin Panda's data, he looked at that sleep-wake cycle and eating, like especially with the time-restricted feeding / intermittent fasting diet protocol, and it's important that you try and eat like during the daylight window. So
Yes.
think like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right.
could be your 18 and 6, or 16 and 8. So that would be like an ideal execution of that. And then also it's important that you do go to bed at the same time each night, like I was saying, because you can run into a situation that's called social jet lag, where, like, some people on the weekend, they stay up an additional 3 or 4 hours later. That's why Monday morning feels so terrible. It's like you literally traveled to Europe if you're from the US, and then you're traveling back, and that's what's happening to your body. Your body doesn't know how to respond or work with that in terms of its circadian rhythm. So that's not ideal for sleep.
Social jet lag. I haven't heard that one before, but that's very interesting. I'm a go to bed early, get up early kind of guy, Sean. Literally, Judith will tell you at 7 o'clock, I'm almost out like a light. I'm so tired, but that's just my circadian rhythm. And then, of course, as the daylight gets later in the day, that pushes a little bit later. But generally, my sleep follows the sun. The sun goes down, and within 2 hours, I'm in bed. And then I'm usually up even before the sun gets up. I know I'm weird, but most people, they need an alarm clock. So that's not good, right?
No, it's not. And actually that gets into the whole morning routine part of it. You can actually buy apps that will have chimes that slowly get louder and slowly get closer together so that you can wake up more naturally.
Nice.
Instead of abruptly. And then you can get lamps that the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter over time. So again, it's more of a gradual wake up process.
Right.
That's more natural. But you can, get up whenever you need to get up.
So did you see the most unique alarm clock to wake people up was where you put bacon in it at night and then it starts cooking the bacon to wake you up? I'm not kidding you. It's real.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about bacon. I'm a bacon fan.
I remember Mama used to do that on Saturday mornings. It was like the one day, well, because we had to get up to go to church on Sundays. It was the one day of the week we could kind of sleep in, but Mama was cooking it at like 6:30. So Jimmy was out of bed by 7 easily.
Bacon will get you out of bed for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned fasting. It's also known in research circles, you guys, as time-restricted eating. So anytime you hear people talk about TRE, that's what they're referring to. And fasting is one of the easiest basic biohacks you can do, and it's the most affordable. In fact, I would dare say it gives money back in your pocket again.
Agreed. I just finished a contest with my followers and some other influencers like Goody Beats and Danny Vega,
Yep,
and his wife, and yeah, we did that a 72-hour fast. We made it optional that you can do 24, 48, or 72. It's awesome to do whatever you can do. If you've never been 24, it's a big deal to go 24 and
yes,
start there. But I actually went 90 hours just for the heck of it.
Nice.
Because I had never gone that long, and it was amazing for me. I felt energized. I mean, there was definitely times that I was hungry, but it feels good to push through that. Know that you're not going to die. You're not going to fall out. People say, "Oh, my blood sugar is going to be low. I won't make it. I'd be on the floor at 24 hours. That's impossible." All this kind of stuff. And yes, it does elevate ketones. Yes, it does elevate autophagy and some of these things that you might have heard about, the benefits. But to me, the number one benefit of extended fasting is willpower. Just seeing what you can do.
yes.
And breaking those limits in your mind and saying, I can really do anything. Like, this seemed impossible. People tell me it's impossible. Maybe 1 out of 100 people have ever even done a 72-hour fast. So that you do it, you see, wow, this is something I'm capable of, and was probably very regular hundreds or thousands of years ago when people didn't have food so available, or they did it for spiritual or meditational reasons or whatever.
Yeah, I have done as long as 21 days, 3 different times. And I only started extended fasting when I was writing a book about it with Dr. Jason Fung, The Complete Guide to Fasting, is the only reason I did those. I just wanted to know what it felt like to go that long. I don't think you need to go that long to get the benefits. You could probably get most of those same benefits in, like you said, like a 3 to even up to 7 day fast. Then you get to fast again. And the cool thing I love about your 72-hour challenge is you do 72 hours. All right, you can turn right back around in a few weeks and do another 72-hour. But if you do 21 days, you kind of have to take some time off before you fast again. So, because you do still need nutrition.
Yeah, and it can be a little bit of a transition, even at the 3 days, like just getting back to your gut activity working correctly with, enzymatically, and, because you've been giving yourself gut rest, which can be amazing too, especially if your gut's been a leaky gut, a dysbiotic gut.
Yes.
You've had inflammation in your gut. That break can be incredible for just gut health. But at the same time, whenever you start back eating, you need to start slowly. And we recommend doing bone broth at first, and then a light meal, maybe a couple hours later, of something like eggs, and then eventually working into more full meals.
Yeah, that was the shocking thing to me when I went to break my long fast. You don't want to go too fast with the food, but really your body won't let you. I remember having that little bit of food to kind of get the blood flowing back to the stomach again. And then I made my regular meal, and I only was able to eat about a third of it, Sean, before my body went, nope, you're done. And then the odd thing was, you would think the next day I would be ravenous and I would want to eat. I wanted to keep fasting. It was the weirdest feeling in the world. People, they don't believe me when I tell them this, that when you break a fast and then the next day you don't want to eat again, it's so natural. I think your body gets used to it.
Yeah, well, the stomach shrinks, and you do get this effect where there's this elastic effect in the stomach that when it stretches, you feel full. And so that when your stomach is smaller and you get some food in it and it actually stretches the stomach at its smaller size, you feel full at that smaller size.
Right.
So, that's where I don't know if those competitive eaters, they actually kind of
oh yeah,
fill up their stomach for days and days and days with water first, so that they can kind of stretch out their stomach so they can end up eating more. They have more capacity to eat and not feel full. So this is kind of the reverse of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, that guy keeps winning every single year. And what's funny is the girls are like little tiny things, and they can just stuff down all that because they've stretched their stomach. It's amazing. Well, let's get into another biohack. Red light therapy, I don't think gets talked about enough, and you could throw in sunshine therapy as well. Talk about some of the benefits of that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think there's a massive future in what's called photobiomodulation.
Yep.
And all of these different lights. It's also, you can look up chromotherapy with just the healing power of light. And there's so many different wavelengths that we're trying to understand now. Just like I was talking about blue light before, you don't want it in the evening, right? Because it blocks melatonin release. So not looking at these TVs and devices and screens at night is ideal. But blue light in the morning starts your circadian rhythm and blocks the melatonin that's ideal. So looking at the sun or potentially looking at these blue light devices that you can buy. I have Philips Go Light, and I have a human charger device that I can use if it's dark out or if I'm traveling. Those can actually get you going in the morning. But yes, red light, I have both a sunlight and sauna that has near and far infrared, and does have chromotherapy lights that can go through different colors of lights while I'm in there. And then I have a Juve light. And those are, the red light can reduce inflammation, improve growth hormone and testosterone response, so improve libido, improve collagen synthesis, all kinds of things that are healing in nature. So we're supposed to get all these different wavelengths, and we're just not getting them.
Yes.
If you're outside, you are getting these things. And obviously, we used to be outside a ton. And one of the other things that we're missing from not being outside, and almost everyone is deficient in, and if you're outside for 45 minutes or longer, you have to be below the line of Atlanta and be getting, I think that's only in the summer months in Atlanta for those 45 minutes that you would get enough sun to make enough vitamin D.
Right.
So basically 90% of the country is not getting enough, and then for those 4 months, and then the other 8 months, no one's getting enough. So we're just not getting enough sunshine, and we're not making enough vitamin D. And so it's definitely ideal to, one, get some of these other light therapies. One, just getting outside in the sunshine. Two, getting your red light. But three, also taking vitamin D3, 5,000 to 10,000 IUs a day.
Yes.
Ideally, take it with K2. I like the MK7 form of K2 in 50 to 100 micrograms a day.
Yes. Yeah, it's so funny you say all those things, and we were talking about sleep earlier. One of the benefits of getting outside, and I have told a lot of people here on Clubhouse who have asked me about sleep, get light at different points in the day. So you're telling your brain when it's morning, when it's midday, when it's evening, so that it naturally will fall asleep and do all the sleep hygiene that helps you fall asleep and stay asleep.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and I love my Juve light. I get in front of that thing, and you talk about energizing yourself. I started doing kind of short sessions, like 5 to 10 minutes. Lately, it's been like 20 to 30 minutes, and I just kind of like soak it all in. I get completely naked in front of it. It's a full body one, and it just, nothing beats that. And of course, people look at something like that and go, yeah, that looks a little quacky. But guys, look up photobiomodulation. It is a thing. And as Sean eloquently said, it's going to be a big thing here very soon. So understand it, learn about it. We're talking about leveling up your keto diet. It's more than just what you put in your mouth, which is why I wanted to bring Sean on here today. We're going to reset the room again, you guys. Keto for the Soul is the name of the room you are in. Click on that little green box at the top and subscribe. Got a lot of great people in the room who moderate different panels and things. My thing is, I'm a podcaster. I interview people. I know lots of people like Shawn Wells. So that's what I do here on Keto for the Soul. But thank you guys for being here. Go ahead and click on the hand button if you want to ask a question. Would love to bring you up here in just a moment. I do want to get into a few more of the biohacks that are kind of the basics. What comes top of mind next?
What comes to mind next?
Yes. Yes.
Well, there's cold plunges and
yes,
hot showers.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's camp out there.
So, yeah, there's temperature related hacks that you can do because we're so controlled thermically in our life. We're too comfortable. We are not as hard to kill as we used to be. We are less resilient now. And there's a term called allostatic load. It's the stress bucket that we have in our body, and it says how resilient we are. And right now, most of us have a very small stress bucket, and that's our capacity to deal with stress. And when you do positive stressors, also known as EU stressors, it's a hormetic stress, and that hormetic stress means it makes that bucket bigger.
Yes.
And so when you do things like jump in the cold water or take cold showers, that's one thing, and that actually increases cold thermogenesis. It burns calories, it upregulates brown adipose tissue, which is a fat-burning fat that's on your body. You only have about 6 ounces of it on your body, and it's around your clavicle mostly. And that burns calories, and it increases GH and testosterone and all kinds of things, and improves healing. And same on the opposite side when you do like a hot sauna. that they've shown that, again, increased testosterone, increased IGF-1, increased growth hormone, increased healing, and again, increased caloric expenditure, because your body's trying to normalize its temperature, and it's doing that through sweating and a number of mechanisms. So you have this contrast, if you will, if you do both.
Yes.
Contrasting therapy, because then that's an even greater delta, even a greater change between the temperatures, right? So you're going from hot to cold, and then you can even go back and forth some more.
Yes.
And if you look at Ray Cronise, NASA astronaut, his therapy that he recommends is you go back and forth in the shower.
Yes.
About 10 times, going hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. And you can increase your resiliency that way. And then you're not as easy to kill. You're not as thermically controlled, like where we're just living 68 to 72 degrees all day, every day. We were meant to deal with extremes. We were meant to be dehydrated at times. We were meant to go without food at times. We were meant to go and get very cold at times, get very hot at times. We were meant to deal with these stressors that we no longer have anymore. We're too comfortable, and we're therefore much easier to kill and no longer have our stress bucket to tap into.
And Americans think this is weird, but I went to Italy 2 years ago, Sean, and we got to go to one of these kind of high-end spas. And in the spa, they had an area that was a shower area where you could have very cold water blowing on you, and you stayed under that for an obligate amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes. Then you had a warmer that you kind of started to warm up. Then you had a even warmer than that, kind of pseudo hot, but not scalding hot. This is a thing, you guys. Like, it's not like it's something that's just made up. I know it's different for American culture for us to understand. But yeah, dude, I do ice baths. I've got out in my freezer out on the front porch bags of ice, 20-pound bags of ice I got from Sam's Club. And I'll just dump it in some water in my bathtub. And I will get down, and it's key to get the vagus nerve underneath the water. So you get a lot of the benefits of that.
Exactly.
And then I also have an infrared sauna that I'll go in right after that, like you were talking about. Do those extremes. And the cool thing, Sean, is when you test your blood sugar while you're in the midst of doing this, it's like, it just like normalizes it so much.
Yeah, and there's even something called a dive reflex. Like when you get your head under, there's even more benefits.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you said, at least getting the vagus nerve underneath, like up to your head, is ideal. But if you can get your whole head under, that's even better. But yeah, it's interesting. Most people think that it's going to just increase sympathetic nervous system, meaning like,
right, stress you out.
It's going to feel like a jolt to your system, and it does at first. But like within about a minute, it's amazing. Like I've done this in Iceland, jumping in some of these icy lakes. Like within about a minute, your whole body warms up and brings heat.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And you feel relaxed. Your parasympathetic system actually takes over, and you actually feel like a sense of calm come in, and your whole body just slows down and relaxes. And now when I jump in the cold, I actually feel very relaxed, because for me, it's no longer the stressor mentally it used to be. I did this most recently at a biohacking retreat. I jumped in and I was talking to a guy while I was in this ice bath for like 15 or 20 minutes, like because I was just talking to him and I forgot that I was in there. And then the next guy jumped in, and the whole time he was like, and like screaming and like yelling and rocking back and forth. And this was like a tough, muscular, bearded guy that could throw around weights. And you think like, wow, this, like it threw me off, because, we have different capacities for different stresses. But for me, this was no longer something that I felt like I feared anymore.
Yes.
And it was just actually relaxing to me. So there's actually a section in my book where I talk about, it's very similar to the stress capacity, the allostatic load, the hormetic stress for the brain. And it's the mindset called Stoicism, with growth mindset.
Yes.
Where the obstacle is the way. You no longer wish for a life where you didn't have the obstacle in front of you. You no longer wish for the shortcut around the obstacle, but you actually cherish that the obstacle is there, and you find yourself in there. You find your why. You understand your purpose. You understand your strengths. You become stronger as a result. And when you have a greater stress capacity mentally, you have a greater stress capacity physically, and vice versa. So when you're doing the cold plunges, you're increasing your ability to deal with stress at the office. And when you're doing breath work and meditation and daily affirmations and things like that, you're increasing your ability to jump in the cold water or deal with the hot sauna. So it works both ways. And you can increase your stress capacity with both the physiologic stressors as well as the positive mental ones.
Guys, are you hearing Sean? He's talking about building your resiliency muscle. That's why he can be chill in cold water. They're still jolting even after you've done it a while, but it's only, like he said, about a minute. For me, it's about 20 to 30 seconds, Sean. And then, yeah, the freakiest thing is feeling that warm sensation in your body when you know you're in sub-freezing water. It's amazing.
Yep, exactly. And it's just, and there's something about that, again, like I was referring to with the fasting, that, yeah, I can tell you all like the GH and autophagy and mitochondrial biogenesis and, caloric expenditure and increased testosterone and collagen, all these things that like all these hormetic stressors do. But to me, the number one thing is that you become more self-reliant, you feel more resilient, you feel harder to kill, you feel that you can accomplish anything, that things are no longer impossible to you anymore. Yes. And it's a lot of the time, like, we need to model someone else to feel that way, that we can do it. But man, there's nothing better, like when you're not even modeling someone and you just do it and you find that you have the ability to do it on your own. It's super empowering.
Love it. Love it. Again, you guys, go check out his book. We're going to come to questions next. Go check out his book, The Energy Formula. And it's actually coming out, no joke, on April the 1st. So go check it out. It's over on Amazon right now. Is that right? The April 1st is the release date? Yeah.
You'd be a fool not to buy it.
See, I knew you'd have a tagline for it already. Good job. So guys, we're going to open up the floor. Ailika, Rachel, we're going to come to you guys first, but I would love to welcome you up. If you have questions about biohacking, if there's some specific biohack you want some help with, we have one of the leading experts in the world on that. I know a few things about it as well, so come on up, ask your questions. Ailika, you're up, my dear.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey.
Hi. You know what? Just listening in just now, I have been considering the cold bath and things like that, and it has literally scared the heck out of me.
What's the fear?
Probably a year, right? I've been thinking about it for a year.
Yeah, I said, what is the fear?
The fear is the cold.
Well,
I literally hate the cold. I lost over 100 pounds, 120 pounds through keto and intermittent fasting. And so I'm loving this conversation, especially as I'm hearing, as we're talking about different levels of fasting and, the different times. Really love what you said about the times for fasting, how, everyone tends to do the 16/8s, right? And folks tend to do noon to 8 p.m. is their kind of feasting time, right? And then fast from 8 p.m. to noon. But I love what was said around fasting earlier really does help, and it's actually probably the better way to do it in terms of timing. So I'm just really loving this conversation. Thank you guys so much for having this, because this is really, really helpful, and it really kind of spreads the message that there's ways to really help your keto journey along. So this has been awesome.
Sean, help her out not to be so afraid. Thank you, Ailika. So afraid of trying it and taking the literal plunge.
Well, you know what? There's actually data with some of this that even at 60-degree temperatures in water, so like think of like a cooler pool or just cooler temperatures in the shower, you still get a lot of benefits with cold thermogenesis. Ideally, you'd be spending longer time. You're not going to get as robust a benefits as if you're doing like 1 minute in freezing water or several minutes. But even in a cool pool, if you could spend 10 or 20 minutes in it, that would be phenomenal as well. So you can kind of adjust to it. You can graduate down to it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do it. I really am, because it's literally been on my mind. So I feel like this room was calling me.
Ailika, you know I'm going to hold you accountable on that, so you better do it now. Thank you.
I'm going to be freezing for 2 months after, but I'm going to do it.
No, you'll be surprised. I want to hear you report back. Come into a room that I'm in, because I want to hear you report back that you felt that like warming sensation like Sean and I were talking about. It happens. It totally happens. But yeah, it sucks the first time. But you'll get over it.
I'm doing it. Thank
Yes.
you so much. I just followed you.
Thank you, Ailika. So, Teresa, I'm trying to bring you up, but I think you need to back out and come back in. That seems to solve that issue when I can't bring someone in. Go out of the app, come back in, and I'll bring you up on stage. We'll get to Rachel and Ada up next. But guys, you're in the Keto for the Soul Clubhouse. Thank you for being here today. My name's Jimmy Moore, and I am interviewing Shawn Wells about his brand new book called The Energy Formula. We're talking about biohacking. So that might be a new term to you. I know a lot of you guys are new to keto and you're just kind of getting the diet right. Well, when you get the diet down, you've done this a while, you want to know, well, what else can I do? And so we're giving you some of those ideas of what else you can do in addition to eating a ketogenic diet. So, Rachel, you are up next. Go ahead.
Hey, Jimmy. Thank you. Hi, Sean. Nice to be here. Thanks so much. I totally resonate with Alika, what she said, like about doing the cold plunges. It's on my mind, but I haven't quite dove into that yet. But my question is actually could be related a bit. I saw that in your book, you talk about Stoicism, and I know what being Stoic is, but like, how is that connected with changing your diet or biohacking and whatnot? I would love to hear more on that.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, so that's what I was alluding to before, is that Stoicism is a growth mindset. It's, again, like Ryan Holiday is a proponent of Stoicism. I encourage you to read his book, The Obstacle is the Way. Tim Ferriss is a big proponent of this as well, and you definitely pick that up in his podcasts and his books. But it's a growth mindset where you like being challenged. And if you look at, like I was talking about with allostatic load and positive stressors and hormetic stress, there's the idea that there can be eustress, a good stress that can help us grow. The agitation becomes the adaptation. And on the other side, there can be too much, where your bucket is overflowing. That would be called distress, where it's counterproductive to you. But in the middle, if you think of that bell curve, if you remember statistics or have seen a bell curve before, that in the middle is that sweet spot, and that is the Goldilocks zone. And that's that ideal zone of where you have the healthiest amount of stress, you're not going over into distress, and you're allowing the body to recover and grow stronger. Because it's not just about like the opposite side of like an exercise physiology, the idea of like overtraining. The other term that can come in with that is really under recovering. So that can be an issue too, is when you stress the body, you need to give it time to respond, adapt, and grow and heal. And so it's the same mentally. You can go through something difficult mentally, but you can process it. And one of the keys, like most successful people, when you look at successful entrepreneurs or successful people in various fields, they all have this in common, that they're reframers. They're very good at the reframing mindset, like where, that glass is half full kind of thing instead of half empty. That you can give them anything and they see the opportunity in it instead of the negative of it. And that's really, really important to the successful mindset. And people that are successful, it's not a place that you get to. It's not an amount of money or a car or a house or a beautiful woman or this or that or this. It's about a mindset. They are successful from day one because they have a successful mindset. The other thing they actually do is almost all these people, if you look at Tim Ferriss with Tools of Titans, he said they had two things in common. One was that reframing mindset, which is also referred to as like an experimenter's mindset, like where they explore, they're creative, and they do reframe. But two, that they all have dialed in morning routines where they feel like they're controlling their day, that they have a handle on their day from the beginning, and it never is the day controlling them. So those two things are important to be successful, and that's the Stoic mindset.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the reframing thing, Sean, and I think you're right. I mean, we all can make a choice about a situation, and it's amazing how one person can view a situation in one way and freak out and make their sympathetic nervous system go on overdrive, and someone else can say, okay, what can I control in this situation? I can control how I respond. And you might not think this is much of a biohack, guys. It is a profound biohack to learn this idea that you are in control of how you respond to situations. So I love that you address that in your book, Sean. Rachel, thank you for that question. And Ada, you're up next.
Hi guys, hi Sean. I'm a fan of your work. Love your infographics on IG.
Oh, thank you.
Looking for foolproof hacks for unmotivated people that they know what to do, they don't have the motivation, but they will be motivated if there is that one thing that would make them see results quickly, specifically for sleep and stress. I want to say 90% of the people that come to me when I'm interviewing them, that is after an adaptive metabolism. That's like the biggest thing, sleep and stress. I make them rate their stress, and I'm often hearing 8 and 10s out of 10s. Any tips, things that are guaranteed to see them at least temporary results until they get the mindset right, so they can put in the time to do the work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great question. So people that are basically not likely to do biohacking, that have an aversion to it, like what would they do? Is that what you're asking?
Anything that would get them results quick, so that they could get that motivation to put in the work, to do the things, the hard things, like showers and
Yeah, so that would be starting out like I'm talking about it, with cold showers. I mean, that's easier than doing cold plunges, and start just by finishing at the end of your hot shower with a cool shower. Just not going all the way to cold, but maybe just going to a cool shower. Can you do that for 5 or 10 seconds? Can you just finish that way? And you can always throw out something like, it's good for your hair. It actually helps, tighten the hair follicle. So, say that. Or with, maybe extended fasting, 24, 48, 72 is too difficult. Maybe they can start with intermittent fasting, that time restricted feeding or eating Jimmy was talking about. So, and maybe they don't need to even go to a 16 and 8 or a 20 and 4. They can go to, just a 12 and 12 where they're not snacking, just going 12 hours without eating or snacking. That's a huge deal. Like, just them seeing those wins, like, oh, I didn't have my late evening snacks, and I didn't have to eat first thing in the morning. I just had some, black coffee, and I was good to go. Those small things are just empowering right there. Doing 5 minutes of red light. Can you do that? It's kind of like we beat each other down so much for the keto police and the fasting police, and you're not doing it the right way, and all that stuff drives me insane.
Same.
Like, are you making improvements? Then great. If someone you might be attacking someone for drinking a Coca-Cola, but one, they might be an athlete like me, and it might have a very pointed purpose. Or two, maybe they're heavyset and they're struggling, but you don't know they were just drinking 6 Cokes last week and they're now down to 1. And I'm excited for them. And it's the same. If they went 24 hours fasting, but they had some bone broth, don't tell them that it's wrong that they had bone broth and it breaks your fast when they've never gone 24 hours before. And for them, this was like a huge mental win. And it's the same with, keto. Jimmy can tell you like all about the keto police and like you're doing it right or wrong. It's all bio individual experimentation. You're seeing what works for you. And a huge part of this is having that stoic mindset, is finding a healthy place and realizing, like I was saying, that success is a mindset. It's not a place that you get to. And it's the same with being sexy, or it's the same with being happy. Those are just mindsets that you can have right now if you allow yourself, and don't let other people determine it for you, and don't let yourself make yourself believe that it's somewhere out there. At some point you'll eventually accomplish it. It's just a mindset right now. That's all you need to have. So I think working on their mindset and giving them small accomplishable goals, and then reinforcing those goals and encouraging them.
So many people don't have that confidence, though, do they? Sorry, Ada.
Yeah, no, and I'm guilty of that, because I'm one of those that expect perfection and want perfection, and then I let them loosen up as they go instead of doing it reverse. Like start slow, and then you can loosen up the belt. So I myself need to work on that.
So as for the stress question that you mentioned, I know that Sean's a big believer in this as well, meditation and deep breathing is just powerful. Sean, do you do any Wim Hof or any kind of breathing techniques like that to release energy out of the body?
I do. I do that all the time. And I actually was just down at Daniel Stickler's office, Piron, in Austin. I spent the whole week working on transcranial electrostimulation with biofeedback. So I was getting electrified on my skull in a way that actually can stimulate the vagus nerve and help with BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and neuroplasticity. And I was looking at my breath, I was looking at my brain waves, and trying to change my breathing patterns while all this was going on. And then we did sometimes with ketamine and oxytocin as well. So it was very interesting. But yes, I have worked on breath work, and I'm someone that tends to probably breathe too shallow. I'm kind of that driven entrepreneur, and that's something like I'm trying to evolve from, is to get into more parasympathetic nervous system states, get into more deep breathing, more relaxed breathing, more belly breathing, than being like the upper lobe, more shallow breathing. And I tend to have shorter inhales and longer exhales as a way to deal with stress.
Yes.
But I'm working on kind of being more balanced with my breathing, and again, just having. It's actually interesting. Like, we tend to think of just breathing around oxygen and oxygenation, but actually the newer data shows that it's really your capacity to deal with carbon dioxide. And the greater your capacity to deal with carbon dioxide, the greater you can release oxygen into tissues. And so it's about like these breath holds and some of those kinds of things that you can explore. When I was starting to work with the hyperventilation, superventilation techniques, it's crazy that like in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of breath work, you can go from being able able to hold your breath for 1 minute to 5 minutes, just because you're increasing your carbon dioxide capacity. And it's crazy. It's really, it blew my mind that I didn't spend months training to get to 5 minutes of a breath hold.
Yes.
It's literally just 10 minutes of breathing, and then you can completely change your capacity to hold your breath.
And even from a relaxation standpoint, the thing that's helped me a lot is the whole 4-7-8 technique. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, and then you breathe out for 8, which is what Sean was talking about. So you're blowing out twice as much as you're breathing in. And man, you do 3 or 4 of those, you start to feel it. And it's like this chill, like everybody wants to numb themselves with alcohol and drugs. Everything you need is with the sun and your breath. There's just, we don't even know the half of what we could tap into, Sean.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the biggest part of my book is getting into that capacity and increasing resilience. That's the through line in the book is
Yes.
How to increase resilience.
Well, thank you, Ada. Did we answer your question?
Yeah, I was actually looking for more specific one thing.
Yeah, the breathing is what I mentioned. The breathing, the 4-7-8.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Sverre, you're up next.
Yeah, thank you a lot. My question is around, since I'm a biathlon athlete, I currently do a kind of a cyclic ketogenic diet. And my question is around performance and carbs. Like, how much carbs would you guys recommend that I do before a race? And sometimes I also combine some exogenous ketones. And just want to hear about recommended tactics for my races.
Sean, that's what you do, so take it away.
Yeah, and that's a complicated one because it depends how keto adapted you are. It depends on your glycogen capacity. Because one thing, it's not only just your ability to tap into ketones for fuel, but you also have a greater capacity to tap into gluconeogenesis and turning protein into glucose and ultimately glycogen, that stored muscle carbohydrate, as you get more adapted as an athlete. So it just depends. It's not easy, and I don't know exactly the exercise that you're talking about, but experimenting with ketones definitely makes sense, exogenous ketones. And I would certainly add in, I would go dual fuel. I would add in the carbohydrate with the exogenous ketone. You know, maybe you can play around with, dextrose solution and exogenous ketones and just see like where you're at with your training.
Sean, have you ever used any of the Vespa products? Have you seen that on the market?
Yeah, and those products are phenomenal. I would definitely explore that too. That makes sense.
Sverre, did we answer your question?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, kind sir. Vaughn, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, Jimmy, how are you? Hope everything is well over there. Sean, thanks for being on. Thanks to Jimmy for having these great rooms and bringing all this amazing, biohacking and just to the space of what can we do to better ourselves, right? And coming from Sean, being a biohacking expert, what does your morning look like? Like, what would you recommend as far as some morning biohacks to really conquer your day?
Sean? Take your microphone off. Is his microphone not working?
He's flashing on and off.
Okay, maybe he's trying to alert me he got a call or something. So I'll go ahead and start.
Maybe he disagreed with me.
No, he agreed with you. So I'll start until he comes back. Sean, if you hear me, flash your microphone when you're back and I will come to you. So, I have all the little toys, Vaughn, in my home. I know I'm spoiled, but like I have things like a vibration plate, which help to get the lymph moving. And if you're not moving your lymph on a daily basis, bouncing exercises do the same thing. Just anything that moves that, because there's nothing in the body that makes it move. And it's important to keep it limber and going. He already mentioned the colder shower, the ice bath. That's definitely something you could do in the morning. And then infrared sauna therapy, or even like anything that would just make you warmer. So I know some people like steam saunas as well. And even getting in a hot tub, like after doing an ice bath, that would also be that extreme that he was talking about earlier. You know, and then you could put in like HIIT exercise within that as well. That could be another thing you could do in the morning. I know you're a big fan, Vaughn, of working out in the morning, kind of doing strategically and in a fasted state. Oh yeah, by the way, helps to mobilize some of that body fat as well. I mean, those are just a few of the things that I think of off the top of my head. And then when the sun is up, you can actually get that therapy where the sun is hitting your light in your eyes early in the day. That helps to tell your body, oh yeah, it's morning, not time to get sleepy. So this is why when you come out of a movie theater, you tend to be kind of sleepy, because you shut down all of that ability of your brain to know what time of day it is. Why I don't like going to a dark movie theater. I come out of there so groggy, unless it's nighttime, but come out of there so groggy because of that. Sean, are you back? All right, I'm not sure what happened to Sean, you guys. I can definitely answer questions about biohacking. Did that answer your question, Vaughn, some of my morning things?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to see what Sean's morning routine.
Yeah, if he comes back, I'll ask him his.
I appreciate that.
But pushing the fasting window, I think, would be one more thing that we could add to that as well. Like, I know people are like, well, I have to eat breakfast. Who says? Do you know literally the word breakfast stands for break fast? That's what breakfast means, you guys. So break fast doesn't have to be at 8 o'clock in the morning. Break fast, and I want you to say it that way explicitly from now on, you guys. Break fast could easily be 1 o'clock in the afternoon if you wanted it to be. In fact, just before we got on this Clubhouse was the first meal of the day for me. So that was right around 1 p.m. That's when I had my break fast. And it was glorious. It was a rotisserie chicken, and I loved every bite of it. So, Sean, are you back? Guys, I don't know what happened to him. We'll push forward. Desiree, you're up next. What you got?
Hey, okay. So I am dealing with water weight, water retention. I can easily fluctuate like 15 pounds on the scale just of water weight. And yesterday was my son's birthday. So aside from like wearing a trash bag and going and doing all of the cardio, which I'm like this close to doing, what are some tips that you have for just getting rid of the water weight? Like, I'm fasting right now. I'm doing the Lent fast, so I'm going to actually fast until sundown and then have my meal tonight. But are there other things that you found that just kind of, hack? That's the whole idea of biohacking. Like,
yeah,
hack through that to get some of the water weight to help with those results.
Thank you for that. By the way, I got a text message from Sean while you were talking, Desiree, and he said, I'm having connection issues. So if he comes back, I'm sure he'll open his microphone, and so we'll keep talking to him. Sean, if you come back, flash your microphone, we'll have you talk. But to answer that question, I think you think about what holds water on the body, and it's carbs. And so maybe in addition to the fasting, good job with that, Desiree, I think on top of that, maybe try a targeted carnivore for a period of time. That would eliminate all the carbs, and that would just say, okay, any sources of glycogen where there would be stored water, there would be stored sugars and other things in there, it would get dumped pretty easily. So between the fasting and doing a targeted kind of carnivore for that purpose of seeing if you could rid yourself of that water weight, that would be my hack.
Okay, so I'm really glad you said that, because I'm actually thinking of going full carnivore for like the rest of this challenge. Like, we're doing the 21-day challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thawing out sirloin steaks right now for tonight, because I wasn't going to do anything other than just meat. Are there any other tips with the carnivore that you want to partner with that for like transitioning, since no veggies, I've got my multivitamin and stuff? Is there anything I need to make sure I have if I decide to go into that full carnivore for the end of this challenge?
Yeah, I'd say just keep it simple, Desiree. Don't go too far off the beaten path. I mean, if you need variety, you can get chicken and pork and beef and all the things. It looks like Sean's rebooting and he's going to come back on. So hang, guys. You can do all those things, but I say don't even make it that hard. Just pick beef and just stick with beef for the remainder of the challenge. What is it, a couple more weeks?
Yeah, this is, 2 weeks, I think, is what it is. So it's a 21-day challenge, and today's day 7.
Okay, so yeah, for 2 weeks, just eat beef and salt, and yeah, I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't work, and it would be a good thing to try. Desiree, I would be very interested to know if that works for you, if that makes you feel good, but that would be something I would say, just to keep it simple, rather than saying, oh no, what can I eat? It's not hard, it's beef.
Okay, I can definitely, I've got that. And then eggs too, right? So like
of course,
from the animal, and like broth. Would you recommend, like, do you do any broth or anything throughout your day, or do you just do like solid meats?
You can, but it's not necessary. I find sometimes broth for me can be a little bit problematic because it can give some people diarrhea when consumed in excess. And plus it's just pure protein, and I really am a fan, if you're going to have animal foods, that it should come with bits of naturally occurring fat with the protein. So that would be my only concern. Now, I think that's why broth, even during a fast, can be a little bit problematic, because it does increase hunger, at least for me.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start tonight because I'm mad at this water weight. So yeah, cool. I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, sorry Sean fell off. He is texting me like a madman behind the scenes here, and he's like, sorry, my Wi-Fi just cut out on me. Don't know what happened, but hopefully you enjoyed what he had to share here today. All right, we have somebody else who wants to ask a question. Rachel, what you got for me when you come up?
Hey, I have another question. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm a little question hoarder.
No worries.
I have a question about the red light. They're pretty expensive, and I know they have like smaller handheld ones. Is that really worth it? And then to use it, would you just have to pick a spot, or do you just like move it around?
Right. So I'll tell you how I use mine, and I'm very fortunate. I have one of the big expensive ones. I know they're expensive. And I use mine. I have it in a certain place. It's on a stand. It's over in my other building. And yeah, I have it in a place where I can multitask. So I'm usually either listening to Clubhouse, I'm watching TV, I'm listening to music, because I have an Alexa right next to it. So it's like, yeah, just put it in a place where you can just get as much coverage on skin as possible. What's funny is the people who get one of those things and then they leave their clothes on. I'm like, if you can, as much skin exposure to that red light as possible. And so my 6'3" frame gets all of its glorious, naked glorious, and I stand right in front of that bad boy, and it just covers every bit of it. And it's subjective. The thing is, people want to feel something. You're not really going to feel anything. There is a slight little warming sensation while the red light's touching your skin, but you're not going to go, oh man, I had aches and pains before and now it disappears, or you're not going to have these magical things happen for you. But over time you will. So it's the cumulative effects of doing it consistently. Like I was telling Sean, it looks like Sean is back. I was telling Sean that we do that about 20 to 30 minutes a day over a period of time. That starts to add up. Sean, are you back?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So we're talking with Rachel again. She's talking about photobiomodulation, red light therapy. Is it worth all that money to spend on one of the big ones, or can you get benefit elsewhere?
It's worth money to buy a Juve or a similar light. There's a Phoenix Rising. There's a couple companies out there. And you can get smaller ones that, you're not going to get full body coverage, but you can obviously take longer with a cheaper light. But most ideally, you can use one of those full body panels like Jimmy was talking about. I think they're anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 if I remember right.
Yeah.
So with the smaller one, would you just kind of have it positioned, I don't know, on your chest or, on your back, or do you move it around your body and try to get like your legs too and your arms?
Yeah, I mean, wherever you're going to need the most healing is going to be ideal.
Yes.
And for men, to get a little bit graphic.
Go there.
For men, like just having exposure to your genitals in particular, and for women, I would think this would actually apply to clitoral exposure, is going to increase blood flow to that area. And so you're going to increase, like with men, you're going to have greater spermatogenesis, increased sperm production. You're going to have increased testosterone levels. And with women, I'm not sure that I've seen the same data, but it stands to reason that, both are phalluses, both involve blood flow, that I would think it would be a similar effect with women as well in terms of libido and blood flow and reproductive health.
That's my favorite part, Sean, is just the whole body, but especially certain parts of the body. And Rachel, for me, I also prioritize my head. I want that red light to just penetrate my skull and give me a lot of benefits there, because a lot of the inflammation, which is what photobiomodulation does, it helps lower inflammation. A lot of the inflammation shows up in the brain. And so I find that I can sleep better, I think clearer over time using that red light therapy.
That's super interesting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you again, Rachel. Catherine, you're back. What you got for us?
Hi, sorry, I had a patient, so I couldn't stay earlier, but I wanted to just add a couple things. First, when it comes to using the red light on the head, the scalp gets, not so great blood flow anyway, so they have some of those caps that you can use that offer some energy medicine for men who suffer from balding too. They've seen some good results with those.
Nice.
We do know there's a lot of good photo stimulation there, and it really is all about blood flow for women. If you don't want to buy the red light, you can ask your doctor about maybe compounding. I call it scream cream. A lot of the pharmacies do too, where we compound a little topical testosterone with some aminophylline, which is a vasodilator that helps with blood flow. And we're also seeing a lot of advances too in the pharmacology for women. So women can be prescribed low-dose Cialis just as men can to help with blood flow to tissues.
Nice.
Especially if you have Raynaud's disease. There's a new prescription for hypoactive sexual disorder in women, which we know is around perimenopause related to low estrogen and testosterone levels and DHEA levels as we make less after the age of 30, 35. And for younger women who suffer from those symptoms and you're on the birth control pill, I would strongly reconsider that option because it can really lower your free testosterone levels. So I wanted to actually come up earlier today, Jimmy, because I wanted to let you know personally that I reference your book that you wrote with Dr. Fung, who I've had the pleasure of meeting at several conferences, when I medically supervise my patients in my private practice with fasting protocols. And I can tell you there are some people who are so resistant to fasting that they require a little bit of prescription support if it's an appetite suppressant, or we use the prebiotic fibers and a lot of just showing them the science. I often refer to some of the graphics from your book. And then as many of my patients, especially when they're heavier, have a BMI of over 40, they really do beautifully with extended fasting, 3 to 5 days plus. And really, we know that hormone of hunger, ghrelin, drops very reliably after often about 30 hours of fasting. And then especially when you are metabolically flexible, you really just have to keep that body hydrated. The use of exogenous ketones I find very supportive too, because we know we lose a lot of salt when we fast, and those fluid drops can be very sensitive for people, causing some of those headaches, fatigue, and a little bit of those beta hydroxybutirates bound to calcium, magnesium can be really protective to manage some of those symptoms. So I just wanted to say thank you for the space, and it's nice to get to actually say hello.
Wow. Thank you, Catherine. You just made my day. And Sean, she's so right. Like those people that have higher BMI, they're made for fasting.
Exactly. They do so well. And, they feel so good. And it's true, when they break the fast and refeed, they tend to actually feel a little worse. But, I trend very closely fasting insulin levels, the markers of HDL, triglyceride. I look at uric acid, and I have a body composition scale in my office. So I can dispel, and I probably should publish the data, that when you fast, you are not losing muscle mass. Once we get the glycogen down and get you to your dry weight, we see that the muscle mass it builds up. Now, I will offer this caveat, and that is that if you only go keto, and I have a few patients who've come to me, they've done keto for years, or carnivore, you can actually throw off your sex hormone binding globulin. In the beginning, we know testosterone levels go up, but over time, that is something to check, that sex hormone binding globulin.
Yeah.
Some people, it's probably genetically based, are very sensitive to those shifts, and they also, unfortunately, it's pretty hard to recover that once it happens. So they end up on exogenous testosterone.
Catherine, thank you so much for your input. Sean, did you have any comments?
She kills it. I'm a huge fan of her, and we're in a lot of rooms together, and no, she killed it. I agree completely. One thing I would throw out is having done some patents around the exogenous ketones. I have a patent around the active isomer, the RBHB, or it's also called DBHB. It's about 2 to 3 times better. And then of the salts, I would look at sodium from our data is about 30% more effective than magnesium or calcium at raising plasma BHB levels.
Nice. Well, Catherine, again, thank you. Did you have a comment, Catherine?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Sean, and I'd be really interested in maybe offline looking at how a formulation of exogenous ketones that was off the market now that a lot of my patients are really missing, and we haven't found anything quite right. So I'm still looking for that supplement. So thank you.
And those of you that don't know, Sean is a master formulator. He's done a lot of the formulations of vitamins and minerals and all kinds of that. He knows everything in that. So if you ever have questions about those kinds of things, Sean is your guy. Sean?
Yeah, and I was going to throw out my top supplement. I'm sorry, I'm in the car.
Yeah, we hear. It's cool, man. At least you're here.
I had dental surgery that I actually forgot about. So
Uh-oh.
I'm on my way to it. But I'm still here.
See?
I'm doing Clubhouse.
Clubhouse is better than dental surgery.
100%. But one thing I wanted to throw out in terms of supplements that Catherine was talking about that I also have a patent on is something called Dihydroburbarine. And it's a glucose disposal agent. You've probably heard of berberine, and you've most definitely heard of metformin,
Yeah.
the glucose disposal agent drug. And berberine has been shown to be more effective head-to-head. And dihydroburbarine is about 5 times more bioavailable and lasts about twice as long in plasma. And it doesn't have the GI distress that is typical of metformin or berberine. And the glucose disposal agent is going to help you get into ketosis much easier, get into ketosis deeper, help you adapt into keto better with MCT transporters, etc. So that's one I would definitely recommend as well.
That help you, Catherine?
Yes, I use berberine, metformin in my practice, and my patients are wearing continuous glucose monitors before and after the medical or pharmaceutical or supplement intervention, so we can really closely appreciate the difference in which intervention is working just precisely best for that person.
Yes.
So I love it.
You have to try dihydroburbarine with them. It's markedly more effective.
Yes, I will, because those GI side effects can be rate limiting for about 10%.
And those of you in the audience who have not heard of berberine before, or dihydroburbarine, either one, if you have higher blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, it would be very, very beneficial for you. I've even interviewed a few people, Sean, who say it has a slight improvement on your lipid profile as well, lowering triglycerides, improving that triglyceride to HDL ratio.
Yep, exactly.
That's true, yeah.
Yep. And that was shown in that study that where metformin and berberine were looked at head-to-head. They had very similar glucose disposal properties through AMK and AMP kinase. but metformin was not as good as berberine when it came to dyslipidemia and inflammation.
Yeah.
And that's where berberine was better. And then again, we're seeing dihydroburbarine be superior to berberine. So yeah, exactly.
Well,
it functions as a PCSK9 inhibitor, which is like super expensive to get.
Yes.
As a pharmacologic agent.
Oh, and that's the new kid on the block when it comes to lipid management, and it's so ungodly out of reach for patients. Patients can't afford that kind of money, but they're going to push it on them. I guess statins they can't make money on anymore. So, well, Catherine, I just started following you. Thank you for your very kind words, and thank you for being here and doing what you do in the medical world. Kylie, you're up next.
Hey, and thanks for having me on here.
Sure.
This has been really interesting. I hopped in kind of recently, so hopefully I didn't miss out on too much. But my question was, I often use keto as a tool for certain clients, especially like Catherine was saying, ones with higher BMI. But I do work primarily with women, so I find that it's better to like cycle them through it and not stay on consistently, just to not completely set off their hormone balance and also just to see best results. But I haven't really nailed, and obviously, it depends like by person, but I haven't really nailed down like like a good cycle time. So I'm wondering if you guys think there's like an optimal time to kind of be on and then take a break and then jump back on. A little bit of like a abstract question, but just curious about your opinions on that.
Sean?
In terms of like what point in your cycle, is that what you're asking?
No, not like cycle, just in terms of like what is a good period of time to be on it, and then if I do want to have them take a break, but then maybe hop back on to like another keto diet, is there like a time to be on it and then a time to take a break before jumping back on that you have seen that's been effective in allowing them to kind of stay metabolically flexible?
What I like to do is probably about 90 days of strict ketogenic dieting. That's 20 grams or less, where you can make the metabolic adaptation, the epigenetic changes, upregulate MCT transporters, and you know what ketosis feels like. You literally can say, this is what it feels like to be ketogenic before you mess around with net carbs, before you do cyclical or targeted ketogenic dieting, before you work with metabolic flexibility. It would be great if you could have 90 days of very strict, like less than 20 grams of carbs dieting, and then start to introduce net carbs, start to introduce cyclical or targeted, and do one of those things at a time. But it's going to make a huge difference. Like typically it is harder for women. You're always hearing that it's an estrogen thing or the serotonin and carbs. But I actually think the biggest reason is that women in general, especially women that are over a certain age, are less active than men and have less muscle mass than men. And muscle mass and activity with that muscle mass is the great equalizer in terms of GLUT4 translocation and taking up glucose. And so men also eat more protein and a little less carbohydrates than women in general. So women tend to be less low carb / keto adapted if they're not used to doing that. They tend to have less muscle mass and they tend to be less active with that muscle mass. And so that can make the ketogenic diet a little bit more difficult to get into, and they have to be more strict with it. You'll hear women say, like, I don't know how someone can do 50 grams of carbs and still stay in ketosis. I'm doing 20 and I'm barely in. And those are some of the reasons that are at play. But it is good to be metabolically flexible, and it is good to cycle in, I think, in particular for women, carbohydrates from time to time. By using something like cyclical or targeted ketogenic dieting, or just going off it for certain periods and then getting back on, but always keeping on something like a paleo type diet.
Should it be around their menstruation period? Sean, should that cycling in the carbs, since women naturally get out of ketosis during their menstruation period, would that be a good time to cycle them in?
Yes, yeah.
Kylie, does that help?
But yeah, no, that was really interesting. Thank you for that. And so you're saying at least try to do for the full 90 days to get the full effect, and then after that, try to jump more into the cycling of it, especially for women, reintroducing some of the carbs in between. But you're saying 3 months at least to kind of get the full effect.
Well, that's where you're going to start noticing what keto is. I think if you're always messing with like dirty keto and lazy keto and these things, and you're always doing net carbs, and you never know what ketosis feels like, then that's a problem too. Like I think before you start making changes and seeing what works for you, like, you know, if you can have sugar alcohols or certain short chain fibers and some of these keto treats, and you know, whether you can do cyclical or targeted, or whether you can be at 50 grams of net carbs a day or 20, like you need to understand what a strict ketogenic diet feels like to your body and allow it to adapt. So yeah.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kylie. And Kent, I've been trying to bring you up for about 10 minutes. I saw you raised your hand. I noticed that there's a flaw with Clubhouse, that if you get stuck, you have to go out and come back in, and then it frees you up. But we're actually out of time. I only planned for this to be an hour and a half. Sean has been very generous with his time here today. Guys, go check out Shawn Wells. Go click on his picture. Go follow him here on Clubhouse. He's also Shawn Wells over on Instagram. He's got a book that is the basis of a lot of what we talked about here today, called The Energy Formula. You can't miss it. It's really bright orange. I complimented you, Sean. As a book writer, I was like, you can't miss that book, dude. It's like, it stands out. So good job on that. But go check him out, you guys. And yeah, you are a wealth of knowledge. I'd love to maybe bring you back sometime to talk about all the different kind of supplements that people take and what's good, what's bad. That might be something for down the road. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Jimmy. And I won't have an emergency dental next time. Sorry.
Well, the funny thing is, this is going to be the best part of your day, having been here on Keto for the Soul today. So guys, this is the Keto for the Soul room.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Guys, this is the Keto for the Soul Clubhouse. So go click on that green box at the top of the screen, and it'll take you right into the schedule and everything that they do here. But yeah, subscribe. Lots of great content on here. I'm trying to do my small little part to carve out my niche here. But thank you for being here today. Go follow Sean and everyone up on stage. Thank you to everyone who asked a question here today. And we'll be back again real soon with more interviews. If you'll go over to my bio, you'll see the upcoming interviews. Tomorrow I've got about a 90-minute conversation with this guy, Dan French. He's a PhD in rhetoric about how you can persuade yourself to eat better. Lesia is coming up the next day, how keto is different for women. Ben Azadi on Thursday with the do's and don'ts of keto. I've just got so much content for you guys ready to go. And definitely check back in my bio often, and you'll see my interviews coming up. So thank you so much, you guys, and have a great day.